Hello, beauty. I can't even say it properly. Let's just go with it, shall we? Hello, beauty PR bosses or beauty beaters. This video is all about the press release and how you can master the art of writing your own. Now, if you want to secure coverage on your business, on your brand, within a publication, a newspaper, a magazine, or on a social influencer's channel, their vlog, their blog, whatever it may be, whatever your goals or ambitions are, then you absolutely have to master the skill of writing your own press releases, or someone in your business has to master that skill. A press release is like the PR 101. It's what all PR people have in their armory. It's like one of the first things that we learn is how to write and construct a press release. And then over the years, we learn how to hone them and do them better and refine them. You know, you're only as good as your last press release, I suppose. And I wrote my last one last week. I still enjoy writing them just as much as I did at the beginning. Although actually at the beginning, I found them absolutely bloody terrifying. So I tried to avoid them. But that didn't last long. Anyway, let's not get you to that point. Let's get you to the point where you feel confident enough to write your own press releases for your business. So what I've done is create a kind of a framework for you to work towards that will give you the do's, the don'ts, little hints, tips, advice, that will just walk you through the process, guide you through the process, take away all of the fear and give you lots of actionable elements to take away and do yourself at home, or in your office or salon, wherever it may be. What I have done is I have created like the ultimate mastering of press releases cheat sheet, which you will find on my website, www.beautybeat.co/free advice. And if you download that checklist, then you can print it out, have it next to you. So when you're writing your press releases, you can just tick off all of the elements that I go through, so you can make sure that you've got everything completely covered. Okay, ready? Let's go for it then, shall we? Okay, so I've put together a 6-point framework for us to work from. Now, this is what I use when I'm putting and constructing a press release right at the beginning. It's what I use. It's where I start from, and it's where I go back to at the end and tick off to make sure that I've covered every single point. This will make sure that every piece of information that your storyteller, your journalist, or your influencer needs to know about your story. So it is, the 6-point framework is who, what, when, why, where, how. I can't say that fast. But just to touch on what each of those points are, they'll all be in the download that you can download from our website that I mentioned earlier, so you don't need to take notes, but let's just go through them one by one. So the who is your news for? Who is the target of your news? Who's affected by your news? Who will benefit from your news? Whose life could be changed from your news? Who needs to know about your news? Who, right? So that's number one. The second point is the what. So, I mean, that's fairly obvious. What is your news? What story are you telling? What are the details? Keep it top line, please. Don't deep dive into anything, but just make sure that what your news is comes across, because obviously that's the purpose of your whole press release. I'd also include in things like, what does your news mean for your customer's life? What difference is it going to make to their lives? Blah, blah. Just anything that you think that really answers the question of the what. So then we've got the when, and that's when it's launching. So if it's a service, when it's launching in your salon or in your shop. If it's a product, when it's going on shelf. And you know, how people can basically find it, I suppose, at a time when it's available to be found. A lot of publications write about things before they launch, which is totally obviously fine, but they're always careful to include within their copy when it's launching. Otherwise the reader will just get annoyed because they'll go and look for it and they can't find it. So the when is very important. And then we've got the why. And this is, for me, this is the heart of everything. And this is where you can really make that emotional connection. And it's, why is this news important? Why should people care? Why does this product or this service exist? Why is it better than anything else that's out there? And why does it matter? You know, that's really important. So that why is very much the heart and the emotion of your press release. The where, so where you can get it done, if it's a product or a service, where you can find it, so what retailer it's going to be stocked in, or what website it's going to be on. And if it is in a, say, a Selfridges or you know, some big place, department store, don't just say it's in beauty. Be more specific about where it is. You can afford to say things like, oh, you'll find it between Laura Mercier and Trish McAvoy on the first floor. That's all fine. Just be quite specific. And then how? You know, how does it work? How did you source the ingredients for it? How is it manufactured? How is it different again to anything else that's out there? How is it going to change people's lives? How is it unique? You know, and I always think that that's quite a good thing to get across with the how. Not just how it's unique, but how does it solve a problem? Because most of us are looking to solve a problem, whether it's with skincare, with makeup, with I don't know, nail products, whatever it may be. We're looking for that how. So make sure that gets across too. So just to recap on what those things are, I'm sure to see if I can do it fast. Who, what, when, why, how, where. Who, what, when, why, how, where. Yes, 6, did it. Let's go. Okay, so you've got your framework, you've got your who, what, when, why, how, when, where, the framework. And the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the do's and don'ts. The do's and don'ts of press releases. The do's and don'ts will be the difference between your press release getting read and your press release ending up in the trash. Let's bear in mind that the average storyteller gets at least 30 press releases pinging and landing in their inbox every single day. And the first thing they're looking to do is find a reason to delete one. Now that might sound a bit brutal, but if you think about it from your own perspective, if you're getting at least 30 unsolicited cold emails from someone that you've never heard before landing in your inbox, the first thing that you're going to do is look at the subject matter, and if it doesn't grab your attention or it sounds like it's not relevant or suitable for you, you're going to bin it. And your influencer, your storyteller, your journalist will approach their email and your press release, if it's coming via email, in exactly the same way. So it's hardly surprising in that case that the most important thing to do if you are going to email your press release to your storyteller is to create a catchy, snappy and enticing headline. Now that sounds easy, but it's not, and it's something I always struggle with when I'm writing press releases, because you know that the reason that it's going to get seen all hooks on that line, you know, or that 2 lines. So you've got to get it right. So sometimes what I do, and in fact I do this quite a lot, is I write all of the press release first, and then I come back to the headline at the beginning, at the end, so that I can really think about the story as a whole and how to summarize it in a headline that's then going to appear on either the subject matter of a written press release or on the subject matter of an email. So the most important thing is that headline. So please, if you're going to put any focus, if you're going to weight focus on any element of your press release, it should be there. If you need some sort of tips and some help creating a sort of a pithy, catchy, enticing headline, go and have a look on BuzzFeed. I mean, I don't necessarily want you to read the stories on BuzzFeed, but look at the headlines. They are the absolute king, queens, and prince and princesses of headline, attention grabbing headlines that just make you want to click. So go over there, have a look for some inspiration. Don't worry about it at the beginning and starting at that point, but make sure that before you send that email, if it was landing in your inbox, that you would want to open that email. Okay, rule 1. When it comes to actually writing the press release itself, so the body copy of the press release, we always write them in the third person. So even if it's a press release that's about you personally, say you're a hairdresser or a makeup artist and it's a service that you give, you should still tell the story from the point of view of someone else. So someone telling your story, always in the third person. You're a business. This is you selling your business to a storyteller. So always in the third person. If you go and read a newspaper, you will notice that every feature and news story is written in this way from the third person. The only times it isn't is if it's, say, like an opinion piece. In that case, then it's obviously written from the first person. You can use second person in your press release, but only if you're going to be creating or adding in quotes from someone within the business or the brand. Then it's very much from the second person. But as a general rule, third person, second person with quotes if you're going to include them. Another hard and fast rule is the length of your press release. Please don't go on for days and please don't go on for pages. No one has the time or the energy to read your life story or to read a huge detailed monologue or dialogue or whatever log of the news that you want to tell. Keep it snappy, keep it short. A page is more than enough and should carry more than enough information and space for you to get across the news story that you want to tell. So keep it short. When it comes to your sentences, really think about embracing brevity. Less words are definitely more. So try and keep your sentences quite sharp, to the point. Don't meander off. Don't give everyone a flowery journey of how you arrived at where you are. Just get to the point. Keep it short, keep it sharp, and definitely keep it within one page. Okay, so we've got our headline, or we're leaving it to the end to get our headline. We've got our keep it to a page, and keep your sentences short and snappy. I hope I don't have to say anything as obvious as don't swear in a press release, don't use obscenities, or anything like that. I'm sure that's a given, but just in case, keep it clean. No adult language, thank you very much. We can save that for real life. And the next thing you need to really think about is the first paragraph of your press release. So if you've got your storyteller past your title, so they're interested, you've got their attention, the next thing you have to do is sell your news, your story to them in the first paragraph. So just as I mentioned earlier, that is not about taking 2 or 3 paragraphs to get to your news, right? It's not about telling this lovely story of discovery and intrigue or the journey that led to you getting to where you are and launching this product. No one cares. No one's got time for that. Get to the point. Get to the point in that first paragraph. All your key messages that you need to get across about your product, your service, whatever it is that you want to tell your storyteller has to go in that first paragraph. That is very much the what. So make sure that by the time they've invested in that first paragraph, they know exactly what it is that you're launching and what you're trying to tell them. If you don't tell them in that first paragraph, you've lost them, you're going in the trash. Please get it all across, stick to the point, get to the point quickly, short, sharp sentences, and tell your key messages, your key story, your news that you want to get across in that first paragraph. And that first paragraph cannot be 1,000 words, okay? What can really make a press release stand out is stats and data, especially if it's relevant to the news agenda at the moment. So, for instance, say everyone's talking about, I don't know, they're not, but say they were talking about dandruff. It's the first thing that's coming to my head, and you've got an anti-dandruff product. And you find a statistic that says 3 in 5 men suffer from dandruff, include it because it's completely relevant. But make sure if you include it that data source is included within the footer of your email so that your journalist, your storyteller, your influencer can check that it's absolutely right. If you are including any sort of data or stats, you have to make sure that they're accurate and they're robust. You can't make them up, you can't pluck them out of thin air. They have to be substantiated by a data source. So make sure that that data source is also noticed at the bottom of your press release. If you're in any doubt whatsoever, or there's a little bit of ambiguity over your data source, or not quite sure, but it sounds right, forget it, don't include it. Because if it's not right, that will reflect negatively on your business, and that editor, that storyteller, that influencer is not going to want to connect with you in the future. So make sure that you check your sources. Don't forget to copy check your press release for spelling and grammar. Any bad spelling, bad grammar will jump out to a storyteller from a mile away. It will reflect badly on your business and likely end up with, guess what? Your press release going in the bin. A press release with bad grammar or incorrect grammar and misspellings really does reflect badly on your brand, and it shows a sense of laziness and sloppiness. So make sure that you are completely on point where it comes to that. If you're a bit sort of fatigued by the press release, if you've looked at it for what seems like days and days, sometimes you can't see the woods for the trees, and you may not be able to spot a rogue comma or a complementary with an E rather than an I, or, and this is my personal bugbear, separately spelled incorrectly. Everyone spells that incorrectly. Then get someone else to look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. It will jump out to them any sort of misspelling, and it will give you that sort of peace of mind that you're sending across something that represents your business and your brand that is 100% on point. To round off on the do's, I would say that it's totally fine to inject a bit of personality and humour into your press release if it's relevant to the story, and if it's relevant to your news that you're telling, and if it's relevant to the journalist that you're sending it to, then definitely do. Have fun. It doesn't have to be a stiff, corporate, quite dull, information-based tool. It can be something. If you're telling a story that has a lightness to it and a humour to it, then please, by all means, bring that into your press release. Although remembering again not to inject any sort of rudeness or bad sweary words, but definitely inject some personality if you can and if that's relevant. And then always make sure at the bottom of the email that you include all the finer details that your storyteller needs to know. So that will be things like price. You would be so surprised at the amount of press releases I see where prices isn't included, and there is nothing that a storyteller hates more than having to chase the PR for something as simple and obvious as a price that's been left off a press release. Always think, if it's a product, put the size of the product, how much is in there, the stockist, where you can find it, the website, relevant social media channels, when it launches and goes on shelf, all those finer details. Make sure that they're included at the end, because you want those included in the storyteller's story so that whoever is reading the storyteller's story can find your product and knows that they can afford it and will be able to track it down. So make sure that you include all of that right at the bottom, and also a contact number and email address for you so that the storyteller can get back to you if they have any further questions or any more information that they need that perhaps isn't included in the release. So yeah, that's rounding off the do. So the absolute definitely don'ts when it comes to writing press releases. Rule number 1, don't put in screamers, and by screamers I mean exclamation marks. I see it a lot in press releases. I don't just see one, I see 4 or 5, and sometimes I see them in more than used more than once or 5 times in one sentence. It's really lame. It makes you look really lazy. It makes you look unintelligent, that you don't have the words to express the emotion that you want to put across, and it just shows a lack of intelligence. So please just don't put them in. Don't even think about, is this the right place for an exclamation mark to be? Just don't put them in. By omitting an exclamation mark, you will look cleverer, you will look more enticing, you will look just better than the people that do it. So don't do it, avoid them. If you find your sort of finger straying to that sort of exclamation point above the one, slap yourself and start again. Get rid of it. Exclamation points are off the table, not to be included in any of your press releases, please. So that's rule number one. Rule number two, these are my rules, by the way, and I have been writing press releases for over 2 decades, and I am pretty good at them, even if I say so myself. So I come from a good place. I want to help you get your press release seen. So avoid screamers. Also avoid flowery language. As I said before, keep it short and sweet. There are too many press releases that contain endless and unnecessary adjectives and adverbs that frankly would make the storyteller just want to pull their own eyeballs out, because they just need you to get to the point. There's so many redundant words that are just not needed. Let me give you an example. Okay, so this is what I see a lot of. So let's say we're talking about like a facial. An average line in a beauty press release that's got too many adjectives and too many adverbs in it could sound like this. Let's see, this insanely powerful and transformative facial infuses the skin with a cocktail of vitamins and minerals that deeply hydrate, revitalize, and inject, I can't even say it, and re-energize the complexion. Let's say that again, shall we? I'll say it faster this time. This insanely powerful and transformative facial infuses the skin with a cocktail of vitamins and minerals that deeply hydrate, revitalize, and re-energize the complexion. I mean, how many redundant words in that? When actually what we could say, which would make us look smarter, get us to the point and get the attention of our storyteller much faster, would be something like this. This powerful facial transforms the skin with its cocktail of hydrating vitamins and minerals that revitalize the complexion. To the point, doesn't need a lot of flowery language to make it sound better than it is, and basically tells the story you want to tell. So if you find yourself going down that road of adding in too many adverbs and adjectives, go back over your press release, copy edit it, be quite brutal, and I promise you that what you're trying to say will sound much better after you've done that. Other pretty big do nots, I think, would be puns. I mean, I just don't think I need to say any more than that. Puns, cliches, off the table, in the bin. Just can't bear it. Also, real hackneyed terms and phrases. I can't bear them. And I just think, again, like puns and cliches and all of the other things we've talked about, just makes you sound really uncreative and unintelligent. So I see a lot of things like, and what's not to like? What could be better? Forget it. It's just like the journalist, the storyteller, the influencer will decide if this is interesting or if this is better than every other thing that they've read and seen before. So please don't put those terms into your press releases. It just really makes me cringe and it doesn't add any value at all. So puns, cliched, hackneyed phrases, hackneyed terms, basically overused terms. No, in the bin. Good. Okay, so that is about it, I think, for this workshop on press releases. Hopefully I haven't scared you. Hopefully I have motivated you to get started. Press releases are a practiced thing. You will not be good at them from the beginning. I wasn't. It took me quite a few goes and tries and practices to get them right. But I do think that this framework, if you stick to it, will get you on that right path and will give you the confidence to create press releases that will connect and get your brand seen. So please do remember to go over to beautybeat.co/free advice and download the cheat sheet so you can use it to refer back to when you start writing your press releases. I will be doing a more sort of deep dive into press release writing, like a deeper dive workshop. So if you follow me on Instagram at beautybeatcom, yes, that's right, then you can, I'll let you know when that's going to be launching. But that will be a much more deep dive into press release writing. So a lot more hand holding, a lot more taking you through every single process of writing, showing you case studies, and then giving you templates that you can then download and just start creating your press releases using that template. So keep your eye out for those. In the meantime, practice, don't agonize over them. Starting somewhere is better than starting nowhere. So get on with it. Your fate of your business is in your hands, and I know you're going to do a really good job. See you next time. Don't forget to subscribe.